in double Shadow Blast to be able to chew through all that health. So I think what starts off as a good matchup becomes a fantastic matchup now for che0nsu.
Yeah, I definitely would agree, and I definitely need to get new contacts because there isn't another run. I even put it in the key cards. I just couldn't read it when it was in the decklist version. Sorry. che0nsu is on the play here with Refreshing Spring Water. That seems like a decent card. I remember back in the days of old Spell Mage, it was an insta-keep. It got nerfed to 5. You probably don't keep it that often anymore, but with Spell Mage, it feels like the card draw is few and far between, that I've been leaning towards keeping it more often than not, but it does mean that che0nsu might not have anything to do in the early game. I think it's fine though versus Handlock, especially with all these nerfs. They don't actually play targets for you to freeze until much later in the game, I find.
Right, exactly. The only thing I'd really want to play is obviously Flow would be the absolute dream, maybe Ice Barrier to get a Frost spell played, but you're absolutely right. The Handlock almost never plays anything until they play Giant, Null, Scavenger, just some big threat that actually puts on some pressure.
Starting off with a Ruined Orb to face seems reasonable here at the moment, looking for either a targetable Frost spell or just a Fire spell. Like another First Flame, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm thinking Biscuit. Like, Counterspell can obviously be nice to try and counteract Backfire on 3, but with the coin, that seems rather unlikely that it would actually work. And, I don't know, Mana Biscuit just for a big pop-off turn later on. Like, First Flame's nice, of course, but again, it's just whether or not they're going to play anything to let you actually shoot.
Yeah, they might not for a long time, but it is a 2-for-1 fire spell, so in case something does get played, che0nsu can shoot that, and if there's a raise dead, shoot the next target, that type of thing. I think it's a safe pick overall because you don't have infinite removal as mage, even though it does feel like it sometimes, right? Especially for the likes of Neophyte, you don't necessarily want to use Ignites on that if you have the option. So I think the First Flame makes a lot of sense. As it happens, GivePLZ's hand does have the shape of minion that the First Flame can get on, but che0nsu not even gonna bother with waiting for Ignites. He's fine with them being shuffled into the deck. He just wants to get quest done as soon as possible. Only needs a freeze spell at the moment.
Indeed. GivePLZ not going to make that easy, though, at all. I imagine if we're going to see a Tour Guide played, it's going to be instantly hit with a Mortal Coil in order to keep the card draw rolling and, of course, to keep any targets off the board. Problem is, though, that he can only keep not playing minions for so long because eventually his hand's just going to be full. And while you can theoretically tap at full cards in this matchup just to get closer to fatigue, it's not what you want. You really do want to start finding those giants.
che0nsu willing to just throw out a cram session here, desperately looking for Ice Barrier, I'd have to assume, as the Frost spell that doesn't require a target, because GivePLZ is doing exactly what you said. As soon as the Tour Guide hits the board, it is straight to the graveyard. As to this mana, doesn't feel great though.
Doesn't, does it? Coin, tap, pass, you still overdraw? Oh, it goes to 10 now. Okay, so you could just coin pass now if you wanted to really not play anything. Or Tour Guide Nathrazim as well, now that you've found that. Okay.
I love it. I mean, it's just dumping cards, makes his next tap smoother. The healing not super relevant just yet, but later on it might be.
So interesting how this matchup's played. And there with Magtheridon, obviously a little annoying because it tells your opponent that you have it in hand, right? You didn't gain back the mana from the Refreshing Spring Water, so they know for a fact that Magtheridon is now in hand, but it's still just very, very powerful.
che0nsu ends up with the Thalnos, which I completely agree with. That's a Brain Freeze target if there's still nothing on the other side next turn. But more likely, I think we're just going to see old Maggie T hit the board because he has the Fire Sale follow-up. GivePLZ has no way of interacting with those 1/3s in a way that's negative for che0nsu, right? He can't buff them. He can't bounce them to hand. He can destroy them for che0nsu, but that's not helping. Most he can do is make the Fire Sale cost more with Neophyte, and it's still easy for che0nsu to deal with anything.
And I don't think you actually want to, again, because as I said, if GivePLZ is keeping track, he knows that Magtheridon is in hand. And so in order to keep the don't play minions plan, like kind of want to go Neophyte Unstable Shadow Blast, weirdly enough, to be able to clear it off the board yet again. But at this point, given that he has Unstable Shadow Blast and Tamsin, that's an answer to Magtheridon. So I do think that's just too crucial to hold on to. So finally deviating away from the game plan. Again, because he also knows Magtheridon will give minions anyway, so the holding back plan becomes less necessary at this point.
Completely agreed. che0nsu done with quest part 1. It's relatively slow, but he has this preloaded board clear. The 6 damage from GivePLZ is quite irrelevant at the moment. He has flow into fire and frost easily done next turn. It's looking great for che0nsu at the moment, but GivePLZ at least has that answer for Magtheridon you were pointing out with the Tamsin. Gonna keep getting tour guides, it looks like.
Yeah, I just like that he's using Raised Deads now, because if you wait, then you're going to get a bunch of 1-3s back, which kind of suck. Whereas here, tour guides, at the very least, they allow you to cheat a lot of mana, like a 1 mana tap every turn. It really does stack up how much less that is than 2.
Quite clever. Using the Raised Deads to get maximum value from the Spice Bread Baker as well. The Giant is good, but not this turn. Obviously, you want to play that after Magtheridon wakes up so it doesn't get caught in the crossfire. And for che0nsu, this is the simplest fire sale in history.
Yeah, very, very simple. Clear the board, get a 12-12, start hitting them.
So I do like flow fire sale and not use the flurry just yet. Because even though the flurry will progress the quest, I don't think there will be any shortage of targets from this point onward, right? GivePLZ either plays a minion to counter pressure che0nsu or deals with the Magtheridon, which involves being Tamsin hitting the board, it feels like. So you will get a frost target. che0nsu disagrees though? Or not? You're not fire sailing.
Interesting, he's delaying it. He wants them left in play. He doesn't want to clear the board and break the tension.
Oh, I see.
Wow, this is smart.
Yeah, this is quite clever. It's only the easiest fire sale if you are at my rank with Quest Mage, apparently.
I mean, I was right there with you. I was thinking it seemed like the perfect time. Get a 12-12. Like, it has benefits, that line of play, for sure. It's not just wrong. But this just slows down GivePLZ so much. What can he actually do? Because his hand is full, so he can't keep tapping. If he wants to play any threats, his board just gets wiped. Super smart.
I think this means now GivePLZ has to deviate to getting his own quest done at turbo pace, which would involve shooting your own minions with Unstable Shadow Blast. But because he knows like any threats he plays from this point are blowing up, I guess you can play the Null because it costs 1 mana, but I don't necessarily think he commits the Giant as well.
Oh, it's so awkward. Like, is he supposed to play Soul Rend to give his opponent a 12-12 to let him punch just so he can actually play the Flesh Giant?
Oh, the thing is, if you go Tamsin Bolt, I mean, you can get Tammy 2 in hand, but the Magtheridon, how are you clearing that by that point?
Right. Man, it's just a rock and a hard place that che0nsu has got GivePLZ in here. You're damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Backfiring, it does mean that the scavengers are down to 1 mana now. This interaction has been fixed. Even if there's Rod, they will cost 1 mana with discounts. Okay, looks like he's just setting up for tap into Big Tamsin next turn, not going to throw the Giants into the Magtheridon bait. And I do think GivePLZ has done as good of a job as he possibly could, setting up enough tension that che0nsu does have to proc the Magtheridon now.
Yes, I agree. This is a little scary now. I mean, you could believe in the heart of the cards and go for Flurry, but I think at this point you let them play the Giants and then you Flurry that afterwards. Yes. Which should probably be good enough to keep you alive for a turn.
I agree. I pressed the button, Derek.
Way, you pressed the
icon.
Button. Good job.
Arcade Blade still needs Frost and Fire from this point.
I mean, yeah, you could try and get away with First Flame on the 5/4s. I don't know. I mean, again, he's just not going with the fire sale.
Oh man, che0nsu's brave.
So brave.
Runs out on me.
I mean, he can clear them with 4
Yeah.
first flames.
So it's just Frost now, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we can obviously do that next turn, right? Just flurry for 0 mana and then slam the Varden.
Think so.
Damn. Or even just Fire Sale Varden, or Flurry Fire Sale Varden, so that you get the 12-12 and the 7-7 on the same turn. Maybe that's his grand plan, to get all the threats online at the same time.
Ambitious. No Neophyte for GivePLZ to shut down something like that. But he can get the Tamsin Blightborn in hand and start tapping away che0nsu's health, because the downside of che0nsu's play is he has put himself at 5th or like 11 effectively with all of these minions able to attack. So GivePLZ is a couple of taps and this backfire away from actually killing che0nsu.
Yeah, you're not wrong, right? And the second backfire is still in the deck, I believe. So Fatigue is actually... Oh, no, sorry, it's not yet. Played the other one. Okay, my bad. But Fatigue, honestly, even then, is still not that far away with how much GivePLZ has been tapping this game.
What he does have left is the other Unstable Shadow Blast too, which he can easily maneuver to deal quite a lot of damage to che0nsu. So, I mean, gotta go for it now. This is the plan, right? Flurry, Fire Sale... Oh, wait.
Is it lethal?
Well,
Fireball.
Ignites. I don't know what size the ignites are, I'm sorry.
I think they're base size, in which case it's not lethal, right? But
okay, so...
A little close. It's a little close.
Yeah. Let's just Fire Sale into Dawn Grasp now. He's going to play the cheaper one so he can weave the 1-cost Ignite in at the end. I think that's fine.
Sure, yeah. And then double Fireball. As long as you're not dead next turn, you almost certainly have the win.
If we're thinking about possibilities for him to die next turn, though, let's say backfire and a tap is 5 damage. It takes an unstable Shadow Ball, honestly, and a small minion to actually kill che0nsu from this point.
Oh my goodness, you're right. And with the Neophyte there, that's exactly lethal, right? Because you would deal 5. Yeah, you deal, which makes 4 damage overall to your opponent. So because of che0nsu's very reserved approach, it means both Flash Giants are still in hand, but he is in range of just dying now on this next turn.
I think the first turn he held, it was very clever. The second turn is starting to get nervous. The third turn, I don't really know. And now there's healing for che0nsu as well. He has to, of course, create some hand space before backfire, which is easy. You just dump these giants. I think he should go for the lethal. Like, he can tap, play backfire, play Neophyte, and still play an Unstable Shadow Bolt, right? So he's got like 4 chances to find everything he needs for the lethal right now.
And he can't delete his deck so much with Soul Rend that he just draws to Fatigue lethal with backfire. I think everything's just too high health, yeah. Right,
so he's going backfire. There's the... No, sorry. It was a purple card. I thought it was
purple card. Wrong one, though.
He still has 1 more tap to find it.
He has to go Neophyte tap, right? Exactly, in order to find it.
But if he misses, then he doesn't have mana to play the Bristlebacks.
I think you have to do it. I think you just go for it. You're not winning this game otherwise. It's too much damage.
Yeah, because he can't kill both the Bristlebacks and Varden at this point, right? So you can bristle. Okay, he's bailing. He doesn't want to take the 1 and 3. So that means he's going up to 30, effectively 23 with the Dawn Grasp still on board. And che0nsu has Fireball, Ignite for the lethal. That was so good. I think GivePLZ, like, we can't fault him for doing it, because what if che0nsu doesn't have both Fireballs in hand? He could still survive at 23.
I think for GivePLZ, because he was basically saying, I have a better than 1 in 3 chance to win if I do this, was his gambit by making this play, which I think is reasonable, because he'd seen Refreshing Spring Water and he'd seen both cram sessions, so it's not like he just guarantees draws through his entire deck and then kills you with Burn. Like, there was a reasonable shot, as you said, that Fireballs, Ignites were at the bottom of the deck and then he gets to survive the turn. It was obviously not the case this time, but my instincts say that GivePLZ at that point was actually correct to bail and just try and go for the healing plan instead.
Yeah, I would say so too. Very difficult to actually calculate discrete odds in a situation with as many different panouts as that one. But honestly, the big analysis we can make is che0nsu's macro game plan.
Oh, yeah.
I just didn't see the grand plan that he approached it with. I'm not sure if it was right towards the end because he did leave himself the possibility to die in this one turn. GivePLZ only needed one card by that point, right, with the Neophyte and the Backfire in hand. He's very likely or very close to seeing the bottom of his deck, so che0nsu would have been aware of the possibility of dying. That first turn of not Fire Sale, once again, I feel was valid. Waiting a bit longer, though, I'm not sure. Maybe the 12-12 being on board earlier could have gotten che0nsu more pressure while still allowing him to complete the quest.
Man, honestly, I'm kind of sad that we don't get to see the cams for this game. I feel like we would have seen che0nsu popping off at this point. He should have been. Like, I think he should be very proud with that game. It's, again, another one of those instances where I just feel like going into the game, he knows how to approach it. He knows what he's doing, and he doesn't have to make up a game plan on the fly because he's done the reps, he's done the practice, and knows exactly what he's looking to do with all of his decks. GivePLZ now moving over to the Miracle Druid, and a pretty spicy build of Miracle Druid at that, with che0nsu meeting his friend Yogg, 2 of the 4 old gods included. And it's not a card that we often see anymore, but it does give you a strong backup win condition, and of course just a potential get out of jail free card if you're losing any game of Hearthstone.
I'm just happy that we've survived 2 whole seasons of GM with Yogg in the meta, but never dealing a Pyroblast lethal, at least in APAC. I don't think it's happened in other regions as well, because I was really scared that this card would make the meta revolve around it, and we would be seeing a lot of clownery happen. But there is the chance here for it to happen once again. GivePLZ, I think, in a good spot in this matchup. Celestial Alignment is backbreaking to Mage, because on average you can get that down as Druid before the Mage can complete the quest and have the Arcanist Dawn Grasp in hand. GivePLZ with that Yogg, I don't think we'll need it as a win condition. I hope he won't need it, but it is a panic button, if anything.
Well, there we go. Celestial Alignment, 2 Vates and a Nourish means, if nothing else, very, very early Celestial Alignment guaranteed. It's really just about the follow-up that he needs to take care of. Keeping Nourish in hand for draw is something I would heavily consider at this point, depending on his remaining draws before the alignment.
Oh, but che0nsu with the super spicy opening hand. The flow with Runed Orbs to follow up are not the greatest because they're not really progressing the quest, but they can discover him things to progress the quest, which is the most important part. I have played this matchup in a weird way as Mage before, where I've experimented holding flow for post-alignment to make your deck cost 0. I kind of died before I could really get anything popping going. I do think it's better to play at least the first one as soon as you get it, so you can get as much of your quest done as possible before the Celestial Alignment. If you can hold a second one for post-alignment, I think it has its merit, because you can chain a lot of draws here. You can also try and hold a lot of cards in your hand and just have all of your draw done beforehand. When everything costs 1, you could potentially put together like a big clear into an Anaconda board, but that's not necessarily winning, game winning, versus the Miracle version, which is not completely reliant on Anaconda.
Some kind of weird ordering here from che0nsu, like to not start with 1 mana Ignite and to go for Runed Orb first instead means that he's effectively wasting an Arcane spell. Arcane is the most wastable class of spells. You're usually going to have a backup option. But even just going for the card draw with AI after shuffling in with Ignite somewhat implies that he wants to draw another Ignite off the top, which is, again, a reasonable thing to want to happen given that you need to play more fire spells to complete the quest.
Interesting spot for GivePLZ, because obviously he could just slam the alignment, and he does have Nourish as some support for post-alignment. I do think, though, that this Nourish is tough to choose what its role would be, because after alignment you do want to get ramp going, but it's his only form of card draw also at the moment, so he might just wait. Like, che0nsu's still on quest stage 1, right? It's not in any danger of pressure here. It's going Nourish for double card draw, full hand at the end of this.
Spicy.
And dunk the Innervate after. I like this.
Yeah, I do
It's
too,
the type of support you need for an alignment play, I think.
Oh, and what do we got here? Auctioneer, another Nourish for more mana. Only thing he's missing now is Anaconda, and this hand is absolutely popping.
You might not even need Anaconda. If he goes alignment into a Wild Growth or Nourish ramp turn, you can just draw the deck with Auctioneer after that.
Oh.
Sanctum Chandler.
Could it be any better here? I guess no fire spells, but...
I'm just kind of thinking, your opponent went Nourished, super draw. They're gonna align you the next turn.
Sure.
That's the most expensive card. Make it cost 1.
Yeah, it can give you some card draw. I agree. I think I was going with the Chandler as well.
No fire spells this entire time.
Yeah, and even after he deliberately shuffled in and tried to draw the extra Ignite is very annoying. But I guess this play does allow him to just get a cheap target for the Brain Freeze, which is pretty nice.
Sorry, misspoke. He's on quest stage 2. I do need to learn the photos of these as well. Okay, Here we go. Insta alignment. che0nsu does have in the flow, right? So this is what we were talking about. Post alignment flow. The deck costs 0. However, there's not enough card draw to get to the bottom of the deck and actually play all of the things.
Yeah, Nourish, Wild Growth, and I think che0nsu is thinking, man, this does not look all too good. I'm expecting a very, very scary play on the next turn, but refreshing Spring Water to refresh his mana, another flow as well, which technically does nothing at the moment, but maybe for after a second alignment can be good.
It can cheapen the Ignites that go back in the deck.
True,
That's not nothing.
That's not nothing.
Oh, spending a mana here.
Yuck.
I kind of thought that he would go just like Ignite, flow, and then call it a day. I'm not sure what trading the Fire Sale back really does. I don't want that in the deck because it's going back to original cost when you shuffle it, right?
Well, no, because it keeps it's a shuffle effect.
Oh, tradable. Yeah, my bad.
Tradable even, yeah, sorry. But I mean, really he just needs a Frost effect. That's what he's missing right now. So I can understand why you trade it in to try and find that. It misses again, though, so I mean, it kind of feels like we're just launching Burn at the face and hoping that that gets there now.
That's what I thought, because even if he gets the Frost spell, right, the Arcanist Dawngrasp not playable for like 3 turns.
Yeah.
So I think he was just meant to go for a bunch of Ignites that hardly ever gets there, because GivePLZ has armor, and he might just win the game this turn. Let's go, GivePLZ!
Yeah.
Hurry!
It's
One
time.
Cthulhu, please!
You got to play a whole lot of cards here. Again, it's one of those situations where it's theoretically lethal, but very unlikely to get there with the Cthulhu on this turn.
I don't know. Okay, I guess he has to find Anaconda before he goes Fungal. That's why he's been holding on to Fungals this entire time, right?
Yeah.
Because the only way he gets lethal is with an Anaconda involved, I believe. Otherwise, he runs out of mana. But even if it's not lethal, it's kind of lethal.
It's kind of lethal, yeah. Feral Rage for armor.
Yeah, che0nsu can't do anything.
Yeah, not a ding-dong thing. Fireball, face. You know, I mean, he has a pretty decent amount of burn damage, actually, at this point. But with no Frost spells to complete the quest, and it still being a long way away, it's just not getting there.
I mean, you can pray they just mess up, right? The same way if you're in this dire strait versus Garrote Rogue. Just, I guess, he's thinning the deck. I really don't think the Frost spells are what he needs now. Ooh.
Magtheridon, and then Fireball first flame. Like Fireball, Ignite. I guess you're just filling up the board and making it so they can't play anything.
No, I mean, you can get it, right? First flame, hot streak, first flame, hot streak, ignite.
I guess. Okay, sure.
I don't want to use fireballs on these.
Yeah. I mean, I was just thinking that he could leave the minions there in play and let GivePLZ have that board for a turn because he wasn't technically dead, and then make it so that he just deletes the board next turn. But I agree. I think that if you can clear the board, it's probably better to just do so and delete the Auctioneer.
I agree. All right, this is lethal.
Oh, that's lethal.
Well, is it though? Actually, Chance is effectively at 40, so Cthulhu not enough on its own. Okay, now he's effectively at 37.
Uh-huh.
I'm almost out of cards.
There's also a Feral Rage, so... Okay, that's lethal now, I think.
Right, but...
Yeah.
He needs to make sure he's doing it in the right order. Like, you need to save a 0-mana Bloom to go with the Anaconda and discount the Cthulhu. Okay, I think he's got it. There we go.
Fine.
Oh.
The Feral Rage either doesn't need to proc the Ice Barrier because there's exactly 30 health between che0nsu's HP and the Magtheraton on board. So the Cthulhu going to hit the board and magnificently end the game without Yogg-Saron ever having to see play. I am so happy.
Indeed, yeah, one old god more than enough for one game of Hearthstone. And GivePLZ just getting the juice. Very by the numbers Hearthstone there, drawing the good cards, playing them on curve. That, I mean, the one real decision that game was to go solar into Nourish, which I think was absolutely spot on. It's very easy, and something that I fall prey to often with these kind of druids is being too greedy with the solar eclipses. I want to save it for pretty much Cenarian Ward and nothing else, just because of how powerful of a combo that is. But doing all that card draw, finding Gadget Sands, Malagos, Anaconda, there were so many good draws he could get, and he was rewarded for it.
That is right. Looking at this turn back from che0nsu where he went for the Magtheraton, I don't think he really had any opportunity to play around lethal because he could have created this board and just said wait, but then he still doesn't have lethal the next turn, right? And there's a world where GivePLZ, I think, still had the destroy a minion Cthulhu piece and just creates board space that way. And by creating the Magtheraton, che0nsu actually pads his health total a little bit into the Cthulhu turn. One way or another, it was checkmate when alignment came down before Arcanist Dawngrasp because there simply was not enough damage from che0nsu to get past that armor total. Like, again, Mage technically has infinite damage by that point, but any ignites you shuffle back into the deck go to their original cost of 2. Even with the Incanter's Flow played, che0nsu did not have enough mana to draw, not enough draw effects to draw all of those, nowhere near enough, and that's why that's considered such a good matchup for the Miracle Druid. But che0nsu's going to queue it back up with his own now, which is actually not the Cthulhu variant, it's the Anaconda Druid, which I think, in my opinion, wins the head-to-head because you do have more proactive threats.
I agree. It's a very, very weird matchup, these druids. Any druid deck where you and your opponent both have celestial alignment, the rough rule of thumb, the things that players, one of the first things I learned when playing this mirror was don't play the alignment. That's the first thing you get told, which is a decent rule to be moving along with. You can learn a good bit about the matchup and win some games there. That's not always the case. You can play the alignment if your hand really allows you to do so, but at a basic level, if you take that mantra to be true, which deck does better things if you don't play alignment? che0nsu by a landslide.
Especially with this opener, look at that, the studies into Fungal, into Guess the Wait for more draw, and then he just has full board Glowfly. Oh my gosh, he can even play the Glowfly on turn 4 now.
Oh,
sorry, turn 3. Okay, GivePLZ's hand is good too, but like good by his measure is slower, right?
Yeah.
Still has to take the setup. Like GivePLZ's deck doesn't function in any powerful way without alignment, whereas che0nsu's deck can just play the token druid half of it as early as now. Like GivePLZ already needs Heart of Cthulhu, or he's looking at dying in a couple turns time.
Yeah, heart or bust here, and just to tease him, it's Yogg-Saron off the top, the last card that you wanted to see here. I mean, you don't concede here, but GivePLZ wants to concede here. If he was on ladder, he'd already be queuing the next game.
I don't think Nature Studies gets him anything particularly useful.
Glowfly
and die, sure.
It might just be Bloom actually instead, though. I think you need the mana more so than anything else. Maybe you can go, I don't know, Bloom plus Solar plus Heart on the next turn, or Solar plus Body to be able to play it twice. I don't know.
I agree. Don't fight flyers with flyers.
Indeed.
Composting.
Oh my god, hello? Is that even good?
He'll overdraw, but okay, all he needs is Solar Eclipse, he wins the next turn, right?
Yeah, it's just lethal.
Even without it, it's like 4 times. It's just lethal without it.
Right. Jeez.
Yeah.
So you have to lose the discount on the nature studies if you want to go solar body, but he's just going regular body here and hoping that's enough. Oh my god.
He got it.
Okay, there we go. That's APAC. Inject that straight into my veins. That's what I've been missing, Gia, all this time. Just degen, glowfly first, I win the game. Oh yes.
He didn't quite have lethal without the solar, if I counted correctly, right? Because Arbor Up would have been, you still need to send 8 damage into the hunt, which means he had 16 able to go face after the fact. GivePLZ certainly was still dead the turn after that, but che0nsu, I think, is doing the righteous thing by making GivePLZ's pain as quick as possible. You don't want to extend that. You know, in APAC, we do have these kind of admittedly toxic mirrors, but we at least get them out of the way as soon as possible. And now GivePLZ has his choice of counter pick, which are not the greatest. He doesn't have a true aggro deck, I would say, but the Garrote Rogue... Oh, sorry, that's been banned away. che0nsu's been priority banning Rogue. So, GivePLZ is only left on his Demon Hunter, it looks like.
Right, and taking a look at his specific list, which I'm sure we'll be able to get on screen in a minute, he is rocking the hybrid version, right? One of the players still believing in Irebound Brutes as well as the Il'gynoth OTK combo. An inclusion that, you know, theoretically should help in this matchup a little bit more, but I don't know, honestly at this point, at 8 mana, they feel so difficult to actually get down early on that I think just going for the Glide Disruption plan and just focusing almost entirely on the Il'gynoth part of the deck is more consistent.
Sure. I mean, you'll take a Brute if your deck gives it to you, but it's hard to completely go all in on that because a lot of the time, like, the Druid just plays alignment and then you can play your Brutes for free anyway. So I do generally prefer, like you said, gliding, delaying che0nsu for as long as possible, and trying to stick an Il'gynoth. It's a matchup where you definitely can tempo Il'gynoth if the alignment happens in your favor. Starting off with the Spectral Sight keep, even though it's not in guaranteed outcast position, I think is reasonable. GivePLZ does get rid of the Il'gynoth, but it comes right back.
Yeah, that's not what you want to see. To be fair, Double Jump is a fantastic card to get in the position between Quest and Spectral Sight, because it means turn 3, Quest completion on the spot is sorted. And even if he just gets, like, Double Jump that draws him Glide, the turn after, I think you would quite happily Glide, even if it's not outcasted.
Yeah, I would agree. It's a big downside, more so than we saw a while ago where Alutamu played the Glide into Mage, because che0nsu is so dependent on accruing cards, but like, it's not worth it for GivePLZ to delay his own game plan. Ends up with the Spectral as well, which is huge. He can retain the other one on the left to complete another layer of Quest if he doesn't just want to Glide, but he's not forced into Glide because of these discounts.
Not at all, and reducing Brute by 1 down to its cost of 7 does actually make it possibly playable on the next turn, depending if he can complete Quest and get the discounts as well. But while all that is going on, we're focusing entirely on GivePLZ's game plan. che0nsu already has Glowfly Swarm online.
And he has a great support for it. If there's no Immolation Aura, insta Soul of the Forest and insta Arbor Up. That could just win the game right from under GivePLZ's feet. It's not Runner here. Okay.
I will find a way.
I was a bit surprised to not see Runner because he could have just used that to complete quest and maybe had some mana spare in case he picks up like Philosophy with Brood.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, Philosophy 1 or the Immolation or 1 mana off being playable, and the Brute nerf. Look how relevant the Brute nerf is. Double jump, Philosophy, double Brute would have been playable just a few days ago. Now he gets nothing.
But he does have an answer for the Soul of the Forest, right? Morg Immolation Aura does clear even the second layer of Treants. So I think GivePLZ is still in a decent spot because che0nsu's gone all in on this game plan. He doesn't have anything to do after this board blows up. I guess he can create 4/3s with Arbor up, but that's nowhere near threatening enough.
Yeah, far from game winning, is it? He's just missed out on the ramp entirely, so his follow-up after a very powerful Glowfly is admittedly lacking.
So Morg Immo always happens here, but what is the rest of the turn? Suppose he could start drawing first if there's anything he'd rather dump than a Morg. He could go Philosophy first if he'd rather copy a Morg, but I think there's a decent chance you can still get Brutes even after clearing the board.
Glide outcast position, I mean, it's just less important than clearing the board, isn't it?
I think so. Just take a turn off quest completion, it's fine.
Yeah. He's obviously just considering, can I get this Brute down? But I just don't think it's there. Even if you trade Peddler, like, you're never getting better value than 1 mana for 1 card, right? Which just keeps the Brute at the same cost, effectively.
Yeah. With both Spectral's play, I don't think you can. Looks like he's gonna go for copy the Morg. Sure, I think that's reasonable. Just have that as a resource because the Brutes are not realistically coming down soon enough.
Ending with Glide. Okay. Yeah, completes the quest.
Nice, puts the Il'gynoth back in there. It doesn't, you know, shuffle back che0nsu's hand, but it's fine.
Oh, Brute costs 1 again. It's so close. This nerf is backbreaking.
Is it though? I think GivePLZ is still winning.
I think he's winning, but imagine how much more he'd be winning here.
Okay,
like,
true. Fine. So you mean if he's just playing OTK Demon Hunter?
Right, I mean, that's what I mean. Like, he's done the non-Brute parts of this day. He's just had 2 dead cards in there, and he's still winning, because I think this is a pretty good matchup for the Demon Hunter. But, I don't know. This would be so over.
This is a good draw for che0nsu, though. Second Glowfly.
Yep. It is good.
Like, alignment is unplayable now, because Kurtrus has already hit the... Oh!
Hello?
Never mind! What?
Slams alignment?
Are you serious?
Dude, he's mega dead. Mega. This has to just be lethal, right?
GivePLZ can draw his entire deck, but it depends if he gets acrobatics. Let's see.
Okay, these are both
Not
whiffs.
quite. There's no free card draw effects at the moment. Like tradable costs 1, studies cost 1 to play.
I mean, you could just play your hand, right? You just go like, copy the Brute and pay Il'gynoth. Like, isn't that just unkillable?
Yeah, behind taunts, if che0nsu can only play 1 Cenarian Ward, even if there's a rusher, it's just not dying.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, the alignment, I was so shocked by this alignment. Like, obviously he was in a bad spot, but I was just shocked, you know?
Yeah, same. I mean, he's just dead.
The stars.
Sheldra's. Not great.
Oh, the
8 plus 14,
Glide
20,
as well is
25.
so sick.
That's gotta be lethal. Like, the Glide gets him 4 cards for free.
Right.
He has 25 on board. So he needs...
Oh, che0nsu.
Yeah, just needs like a Fell Scream and a Morg, or a Guild Trader Morg.
Oh, it's actually lethal. Infinity. It's infinity
That's
damage.
lethal already, GivePLZ. Stop it. He's already...
Do the full. Punish him. Punish him.
Yeah, Jarek, Mr. che0nsu fan. Punish him.
Get him. Draw more cards. Oy, oy, oy. There we go. Yeah, Game 5, another incredibly close series here for both GivePLZ and che0nsu. What a way to end out the series in what has been, in my opinion, very well played on both sides.
Game 4, right? It's not over yet. che0nsu still has a deck, right?
Sorry, I meant Game 5.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise.
My bad if I heard wrong.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't know what I'm saying after that game anymore. After this series, this is just getting ridiculous. And it means that it's Demon Hunter versus Rogue Gia to end things out. And, well, che0nsu, did win the first game of the series. So, by the way that last hero standing usually goes, you expect to be in with a reasonable matchup at the end. But Demon Hunter versus Rogue, I've got to say, even with the fact that Demon Hunter was hit and Rogue wasn't, I still kind of like this matchup for the Demon Hunter. I just think the disruption, the brutes are too scary for the Rogue to be able to get through.
I think it's very close. Honestly, I still want to get more reps in on both sides to really get a feel for who's favored, because I just feel there's a lot of agency for both players to disrupt the other one, because called Neophyte for Rogue is a very real threat for OTK Demon Hunter. There's the ability to proactively play threats. We saw Blitzchung very creatively pilot his Garrote Rogue versus Demon Hunter. I think with cool Octobot timing, not necessarily getting too greedy into a potential glide on the other side. And of course, Alan also had that very cool approach, which is of course not something you can strictly go for when you know the Demon Hunter has Immolation Aura. But Rogue is not completely destroyed by the threat of glide. I would say there's other ways you can play it, like Kazakus potentially for 5-cost Golem. Just play it like you would versus the old OTK Demon Hunter, especially with the Brute nerf. Rogue still has some game.
Agreed completely. It's a very, very flexible deck, and it's difficult to truly put it into a corner that it can't get out of. I still think for the most part in the early game, you should be looking for cards like Shroud of Concealment. Like, I get that it's so bad to play Shroud into Glide because you fill your hand up and it then gets deleted, and then also you have one less card draw effect in your deck. But I don't know, I'm just a Shroud gamer. I love the way that it just lets you fill up your hand, get these big combos. But clearly, che0nsu, as you were saying, is just afraid of the threat. Glide is just too scary for him.
I mean, I was about to agree with you. I think you still play it, still keep it in the mulligan, but you probably hedge by playing some of your other minions on curve before the Shroud, so you're not having too many cards in hand. che0nsu going for a different approach here. Still the ability to tempo out the Guardian Aug Merchant if he wants to, but it's really not great on its own on turn 2. He'd ideally look for a Neophyte here. Okay, one Thief. That's a great way to spend the mana.
Ooh. I guess Studies?
Yeah, I think it's a bit too difficult to maneuver the Cram Session to get you enough draws, because you need a target for the Aug Merchants and then the mana to play the Cram Session. And at any point, this hand could be going back. But che0nsu disagrees. He's going Cram Session.
Interesting.
Doubly jumpy. There's the card.
There it is. Oh, Spectral Sight off the top as well is huge. He was clearly banking pretty heavily on finding it, because I was actually wondering if he just goes Illidari Studies Hero Power on that turn, and then you can go double jump into try and find Glide to play it straight away on turn 4, which can maybe catch your opponent off guard, but he disagrees, but he does get pretty lucky in hitting the Spectral Sight there. Without that, that turn was looking a little rough.
Even though it's off curve, I like the Neophyte for che0nsu just curving out. He wants to play the Kazakus on 4, get any threats online as soon as they hit the hand, not be completely wrecked by a Glide. And technically, yes, Kazakus into Glide is still a bit painful because you don't necessarily have the Golem back, but at any point, when you have 5 mana, that's a pretty good top deck, the Golem, I think.
Agreed. Yeah.
5 cost.
Yes, I do too. Stealth, probably what I'm looking at. Summon a copy. Yeah, pretty good.
You take those. 7 cards glided back is painful, but not the end of the world.
Yeah, and annoying to have to use the philosophy on the Moarg, right? But not that bad. Again, Brutes, I think, are going to be struggling to come down in any timely fashion in this matchup with the nerf.
I wonder if he even copies with anything. Well, I mean, sorry, there's no way you can maneuver the philosophy to copy nothing, but you can choose between Moarg and Brute if you're willing to just throw out a Moarg.
Well, that's true.
In the end, GivePLZ not willing to do so, going to delete a Tusk Piercer from this hand. I think that's reasonable.
There it is.
The deck.
Yeah, glide on 5, and you are one sad little boy.
Window's a good one to get back. The others not so much though. Oy oy oy.
Yeah, it definitely needs a helping hand. Prep Swindle, okay. Can he get the Golem maybe as the minion?
If you passage, you can't play the Golem, but it's fine. You can still play other things, delete the deck, get closer to the Golem, get closer to field contact. Oh, the Ethels are back! Oh, a Shroud. That's pretty good.
That is good. You're definitely taking that.
AI.
Okay, this is a reasonable turn post-glide. This is better than I was expecting from che0nsu. Drawing a lot of cards.
Oh, he's back.
Okay, now we're talking. Can even give one of the Divine Shield to make a Immo clear even harder.
And in the meantime, GivePLZ looks like he's gearing up for a Brute turn, but at the moment only one. Oh, never mind. Could be more.
That's interesting. He's probably going to struggle to play both of those cards, right, to reduce or to get the second proc. But I agree, definitely at least one Brute, because you can trade the Peddler, draw it back again off the Tusk Piercer.
Hold on. If you go Fell Scream, Philosophy, you draw 2 more off of the
oh, true.
Acrobatics, right? So you can play 2 Brutes. I think the 3-cost one is not playable, but it's okay. I think you take 2 Brutes.
Yep, yeah, I agree. It's just so annoying that you have Peddler in hand and not in deck. If that was gone, then you'd be absolutely laughing. You'd be able to play all 3. Still worth though, for sure.
Yeah. Stealth Copy plus Brain Freeze. You can kill 1 off. That's still pretty good.
Is it better than Prize Plunder? It probably is, actually, isn't it?
I don't actually know if you can maneuver the Prize Plunderer to a decent enough total here. Oh, I guess if you play the Penflinger repeatedly. Okay, he's going for the full clear.
Yeah, you know, I actually kind of did prefer the Golem plan, though, because all the while that your opponent has 2 big Brutes, they don't want to use Immolation to clear your stealthed Golems, right? And that's the only way that they have to actually clear it. This play does go very wide, to be fair. It puts a somewhat comparable amount of attack on the board. And actually clears the Golems. The Brutes, sorry.
I think this turn is better at disincentivizing Kurtrus outside of there being exactly Immolation or a Kurtrus. Because if you had just gone for Golems and partial clear, I think GivePLZ is pretty happy to just slam the Kurtrus. Whereas now, che0nsu has the threat of this Golem actually being the buff Golem. Unfortunately, it's not. But he still gets to push a decent amount of damage. GivePLZ had to use a Fell Scream Blast to get the Brutes down. So che0nsu maybe can get there. Maybe.
Maybe. He can obviously trade the Snake or swing with the weapon and then trade the Peddler in order to try and find Immolation Aura, which would be absolutely fantastic to find here. But if you miss, which is quite likely, then you want to have played the Sigil of Alacrity, because that massively boosts your chances of actually winning the game next turn. He goes for the trade, misses out.
Okay, I thought it was the Immo because he snap played it, but there's still a couple more chances to find it. Buddies. Trash,
I'll
just
play
another
that.
Spectral, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fernand's here. che0nsu with 9 on the board. Not a buff
huge.
Golem. It is stealth copy, but still pretty good with just Neophyte. Ship it all to the dome.
Oh, he's
sorry, you have to trade off a 1/1, but
yeah.
In principle, I think this is... You have a read on no Immo. They probably get it next turn, but they might not kill you the next turn is the hope with the Neophyte. And then you push 10 again with the Golems.
che0nsu just going to be kicking himself for not picking +2/+2. I think it was an option, if I remember correctly, but I mean, even if it was a possibility, it was still wrong. It was correct at the time what he did.
Yeah. It's so hard to predict you'd end up in this situation post-glide.
Of course,
And
yeah.
now, I think GivePLZ has to either go for Immo or Lethal. And even Immo is not a full clear, even with a Moarg, right? You need Skill Trader as well. So I think you just look for Lethal here.
He only has one Guild Trader actually in the deck. I believe that Il'gynoth costs 5 as well. So his mana is quite limited. But with that, I think that is the win.
Yep. Oh. That was so close. If this Spell Screamer just like one card lower, he might have had to trade away the Guild Trader. Oh my goodness. GivePLZ moves on tomorrow.
Very well played by him. I think that end there was nicely done. Even the decision about whether or not to trade, whether to play the Sigil, it's tough to call, but he gave himself a very strong chance of having the out of Immolation Aura. Didn't even need it in the end because he just hit the lethal. And yet again, Demon Hunter is just looking unstoppable here in Asia Pacific. Yet to lose a game today. It's been the finisher deck so far for most players when it has been brought out. But really, I mean, Alutemu and GivePLZ both brought it. che0nsu and Gura both didn't bring it. The players who did won both games because it was just a free win. It almost felt like at the end, with it being so strong against aggro and good against the likes of Rogue, Mage, Handlock as well right now. It's just looking like one of the top decks.
Just professional paragliders here in APAC. Left and right and up and down and all around. These rogues, these druids are all falling at the mercy of the glide. Strangely enough, it feels like the only time I've seen Demon Hunter lose this week was versus Handlock, was it? Where the glide did have Flesh Giant coming back the other way almost immediately. But this deck does certainly seem like a terror. I don't know if che0nsu, if he had another chance, would have maybe changed his ban around. I do think that the Libram Paladin is still a good bring because that's a potential great counter queue into the Demon Hunter. But with that out of the way, everybody with the Demon Hunter, I think it makes a lot of sense why their ban is like that. That can just wreak so much havoc in the meta.
Truly can. And there it is. We're halfway through the day. The rich get richer. It's a tough loss for che0nsu because it means that now at the end of his run for this week, he is still sat towards the bottom. He now has 8 points to his name, which is just above Bank Yugi, Blitzchung, and Dawn because of his second place last week. But it's very much not out of the danger zone. che0nsu needs a decent week at least to be able to stay alive in Grandmasters for another season. So the pressure is very much on for him. But for Alutemu and GivePLZ, it is just that race to finish in that first or second seed. Alutemu, I still